Hi guys, it's me Chazza HD and welcome to the Practice 2 Watchalong for, of course, the first ever Miami Grand Prix here in 2022. Of course, we had Practice 1, which finished just under 2 hours ago. And Practice 2 will be getting underway, as you can see on screen, in about 14 minutes' time. And hopefully, we'll get another interesting session like we got in Practice 1. Plenty of laps being completed by the drivers. Only one red flag, which I have to say was quite a surprise. I expected at least one more red flag than what we got. We got to see the track, obviously, and the layout and how the drivers were finding it. That very slow part of the second half of the middle sector proving to be very difficult and very tricky for drivers to navigate their way through in a way that didn't affect massively their lap time. Also, coming across traffic at that part of the track also was interesting to see how the drivers negotiated that and just see how the cars went around this circuit. And I think we can tell that despite the second half of the middle sector and a couple of the slow corners at the end of a straight, it is a pretty fast racetrack, and we're going to see, I think for sure, some overtaking on Sunday. I think we can already tell that from the track that we just saw in Practice 1. And yeah, hopefully in Practice 2 we'll get to see more representative speed and hopefully get a good picture of who is looking where going into qualifying, of course, tomorrow. This session, though, is not taking place at the same time that qualifying will tomorrow. Qualifying tomorrow takes place at 9 PM UK time, which is 4 PM local time. And Practice 2 today is starting at 5:30 PM local time or 10:30 PM UK time. So, again, it's not going to be the most representative Practice 2 you'll see this season because it will be a bit cooler, especially towards the end of the session, than it would be in qualifying. You know, the latter stages of qualifying compared to the latter stages of Practice 2. But hopefully we'll get to see kind of where people are at going into the rest of the week. And of course, we haven't seen any rain yet. Hopefully it'll stay away. I mean, if we get some rain, that's great. But in Miami, you do tend to not just get rain, but, massive downpours and lots of thunderstorms. So be careful what you wish for. But yeah, hopefully we'll get a good session in Practice 2. Now, for anybody who's, tuning in for the first time this weekend to this stream and, hasn't tuned into my preview yesterday or my Practice 1 stream, I'll just quickly re-show this, which is the layout. Again, full credit to racefans.net for this picture. So, and we saw this obviously in the Practice 1 session. What do you call it? So the pit straight, pretty fast, and you're coming off of two flat out corners of turn 18 and turn 19. Then into turn 1, it's kind of it's not, I would say, a hairpin turn 1, but it's a long, it is kind of like a hairpin in terms of the entry. Feels very long. And then you go into turn 2, which of course the pit lane exits at turn 2. Can be very tight there on the exit. And then into turn 3, which is a flat out, pretty much right-hander. Then into a short little straight. Then a couple fast corners. And then into 6, 7, and 8, which is a long left-hander coming into a slowish turn 8. And then you have a long straight from turn 8 to turn 11. And this is where the main overtaking will be on Sunday. Then a very slow corner at turn 11, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are incredibly slow compared to the other parts of the track. And the reason they made it like that is because they want it to be a kind of a mistake generator, so it can be maybe throw up some challenges, maybe some excitement for the people watching. Kind of like the middle sector in Baku is what I would guess the inspiration would be behind that. And then you have a dead straight from turn 16 to turn 17. Also, the exit of turn 16 is very tight. Turn 17 is just a normal 90-degree left-hander. Then you go into turn 18 and 19, like I said, pretty much flat out in these cars onto the pit straight. So that is the Miami Grand Prix track. And from what we saw in practice one, it is a pretty fast racetrack, and it is going to suit cars that are better in high-speed corners and have very good straight-line speed. I mean, you know, cars that are good in the slow speed, yeah, they'll have a good time between turn 11 and turn 16, but the majority of the time, you're going to be going through the fast corners or a long, fast straight. So, like I said, it's going to suit cars that are good in those areas. Now, thankfully, I have been able to get a few pictures of the cars from practice one that I'll be able to show on screen during the practice session, and I'll start showing them from now. And yeah, there's how many pictures? Probably 10 to 15, probably closer to 15, honestly. So yeah, I'll keep that on screen for you guys through the session from now on. Just want to quickly though get into a couple things. Firstly, I was notified by Rooksfoot, who I believe is in the chat, that my Discord link in my description wasn't quite working. I have now refreshed the link, so it's a different link now, but it should work this time. And also for Rooksfoot in the chat, yeah, if you just try and copy the link from my description, it should work. Normally, because I think the link I was using previously, I think it was working in the chat, but for some reason it wasn't working in my description. I think sometimes it can, after a while, just not work. So yeah, I think that might be an explanation behind that. Can't really think of any other explanation as to why it wouldn't work, to be honest. So yeah, if you want to join my Discord server, there is now a new link, and make sure to click the link down below or in the chat if Rook is posting it in the chat. But also, I just want to get into this jewelry gate, I guess you could call it, that I saw on Twitter from a couple people. So, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, met with Toto Wolff, hour and a half, 2 hours ago probably, to discuss this. And basically, they agreed to a grace period for the drivers in terms of getting up to date in terms of what they're wearing, in terms of fireproof certain stuff or jewelry and all of that. Basically, Lewis Hamilton, I think, has had to compromise on what he is having to wear. And I think he's been forced to remove his earrings, and they're giving him, like, I guess, 3-4 weeks to remove his nose piercing to comply with the regulations. And yeah, if you also didn't hear, apparently the possible penalties for, you know, not complying were massive fines and then a possible points deduction later on. And even, you know, if you didn't pass driver scrutineering, which is something I've never heard of before, then possible disqualification from the event, which apparently Lewis Hamilton was facing this weekend. And was it Danica Patrick's on the Sky F1 coverage as a pundit this weekend? Of course, any Americans watching who know about motorsport will know about Danica Patrick. She said something that, to me, just is absolutely, you know, exactly my thoughts. Why does this matter? Who cares? And she even said she was allowed to wear earrings her entire time in NASCAR. Yes, there are certain safety issues with them, such as if there's a fire. I understand that. And yes, it can catch on the clothing, but only if you take it off or put it on too quickly. If you put it on in a more careful way, it doesn't have to be massively slower, but if you put it on in a more careful way, then it doesn't catch on nose or earrings. I know because I have a nose and an earring, as I said in my Practice 1 stream. But yeah, I understand that it's it can cause, it can be a safety issue when it comes to fires and that. But at the end of the day, it's at your own risk. You know, the drivers have it. What was the point that I think she made that I kind of agreed with, where it's like, what was it she said? She said something to the degree of, drivers accept the risk that comes with certain things, So, you know, if that's the risk they want to take, then they should be able to take it. And I kind of agree with that type of line of thinking. And also, if there is a fire and wearing certain types of jewelry, you know, can possibly exacerbate it, that's not the only thing that can come under scrutiny or could, you know, not do its job in a fire. You'd have to look at, firstly, the actual fireproof clothing they have and whether it was adequate enough, and all the other stuff they have and whether it was adequate enough. And in terms of if there was a fire that, you know, hurt the drivers, then in terms of liability, I think probably the people who make the fireproof stuff themselves would have to come under a bit of scrutiny rather than, you know, the jewelry. And I've even seen, you know, conflicting reports on Twitter that some types of jewelry can withstand up to certain types of heat. So, yeah, to me, it's a completely pointless thing. We shouldn't be talking about it. To me, it should be at the discretion of the drivers. If they want to wear it, they can wear it. As long as they, you know, if they know the risks involved of wearing it, but they continue anyway, then they should be allowed to wear it. I don't see what the problem is. Lewis Hamilton has worn, you know, jewelry for 15 years or so, and he hasn't had a problem. So I don't see the problem. I really don't see the problem. And even if, you know, there was a fire, to say Lewis Hamilton and he was wearing, you know, a nose piercing, earrings, and all of that, I don't think jewelry exacerbates a fire that much. I really don't believe it does. And if you're looking at an example for what, you know, the Romain Grosjean crash in Bahrain, I'd be a bit more concerned about how the car was able to go literally through a barrier and split in half rather than what the driver was wearing. I think that's probably a bit more of a concern than what drivers are wearing. I have to be honest. Yeah, just it's so pointless. Really so pointless. Anyway, I think, given what I'm seeing on my TV screen, I think we'll move on because it looks as though practice 2 is going to be getting underway in about 90 seconds or so here in Miami. Track temperature 42 degrees Celsius. Definitely a lot cooler than it was earlier. Earlier, it was about 10 degrees Celsius hotter than it is now. So the tyres should cope a lot better in these conditions than they did earlier. Just want to say, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, because I will be doing plenty more content for this weekend's Grand Prix. We're doing 3 streams tomorrow, a qualifying preview at 3 PM UK time, and then a practice 3 watch-along at 5:45 PM UK time, and then a qualifying watch-along at 8:30 PM UK time. So don't forget to come along to all of that tomorrow. And again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe bottom right of the screen. You can do it right there. And as well, to help out the channel, smash the like button and share the video and channel everywhere you can. And don't forget as well to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. Now, let's get rid of all this stuff and get this stuff up. Now, this order, by the way, this is the order, the finishing order for practice 1. Of course, this is not the current order. Let me just change that to FP2. And also, what do you call it? Practice 2, just like practice 1, is an hour-long session. So, no different to practice 1, but I am expecting probably some differences in this session. Let me just try and adjust this picture. There you go, that's better. And yeah, I'll try and sync the timer up for when the session does start. But if I can't sync it up on time for when the session does start, then I'll just do it at the first available opportunity, as I usually do. As Charles Leclerc just getting his earplugs in, about to put his helmet on. And the teams and drivers will be ready to go soon. That Mercedes, though, will not be ready to go soon, as they're working quite a bit on George Russell's Mercedes. So, yeah, he will be in the pits for a few minutes longer. They are starting now to put the car back together. Looks like they're working on the floor of that car. Maybe they're just trying out a different setup with the floor. And yeah, similar work going on to the, I think, power unit / floor, the Red Bull. Same with Bottas and the Alfa Romeo. With Bottas and the Alfa Romeo, that's understandable because he did crash in practice 1. And the session has started, so I'll sync the timer up in about 50 seconds' time. But yeah, with Valtteri Bottas, if you're just joining and you didn't hear or see what happened in practice 1, Bottas was the one who caused the red flag in practice 1, as he carried too much speed into turns 6 and 7, and then spun and went in rear first into the barriers. Destroyed his rear wing, and hopefully hasn't damaged the gearbox, but he probably has, to be honest. As we've got, I don't think any cars on track for the moment, but we will do very, very soon. As I'll sync the timer up in a few seconds' time. And yeah, Red Bull Mercedes look as though they're not going to be coming out for a few minutes yet. And there you go, 59 minutes to go in practice 2. And the first car on track is Daniel Ricciardo, who ended practice 1 in 10th place ahead of his teammate Lando Norris. So a decent first session for Ricciardo. The first half, or most of the first session, he wasn't looking that great, but ended up putting in a good lap towards the end. At the moment, on track, we have the 2 Williamses of Latifi and Albon, the 2 McLarens of Norris and Sainz, Norris and Ricciardo, sorry, and the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, and then the Alpine of Ocon, the Alfa Romeo of Zhou Guanyu, and then the 2 Aston Martins of Vettel and Stroll. Those are the cars currently, on the track. As, the Red Bulls, AlphaTauris, Haas's, Mercedes, all in the pits. And hopefully we'll see. And yet we're currently looking at Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, who has had a good season so far. He's, I think, 9th in the championship is Ocon. And, he's had a good season so far. Been a consistent point scorer for the Alpine team. 7th in Bahrain. 6th in Saudi Arabia. And then 7th in Melbourne. And was, I think very close to a points finish in Imola. But then again, did get a penalty. As he has started his lap, he's on the medium compound tyre. And let's see how he gets on. Gets through turns 6, 7, and 8 a lot better than Bottas did. And the car actually looks pretty good through that part of the track. As Ocon heads down to turn 11. Next car behind him, I think, is Lando Norris. As Mick Schumacher joins the track. And yeah, definitely looks as though already I can see from this lap of Ocon's there's a lot more grip on the circuit after that first session. He gets through the chicane pretty nicely. Nice flow through there for Ocon. And as well through turn number 16. And now it's an absolute dead straight to turn 17, which is the final real corner you have to slow down for. And does he get slowed down? Misses the apex. Would have lost a 10th or so. But he will come to the line. And will he go P1? Probably. Yes, he does. Esteban Ocon goes P1. I will, as usual, make sure to update the order as much as I can. Do bear with me because obviously I can't get it up to date the absolute second. So I'll try my best as the session goes on. Ocon is in P1, and then you've got Lando Norris in second place, and now Daniel Ricciardo is in third, with Carlos Sainz in fourth. That's your top four. And then you've got Sebastian Vettel in fifth place. So Vettel up to fifth. And then we've got Alex Albon, who's just, I think, completed a slow warm-up lap, and he's now on a proper flying lap. And then, yeah, it's Vettel fifth, and then Zhou is sixth, the Alfa Romeo. And then it's Latifi in P7. Well, I have to say, once again, put in a poor performance in practice one. He was miles away from his teammate. And then, yeah, it's Latifi 7th. Stroll in 8th position. And then 9th, Alex Albon, who is currently, like I said, on a proper flying lap now, as he comes into turn 11. And we'll see how the Williams handles for him through this middle, the end of the middle sector, as they're all, at the moment, on the medium compound tyre. As Mick Schumacher and Fernando Alonso are on a first-timed lap. Kevin Magnussen has just come out onto the track for an outlap. With this lap, Alex Albon will probably go 5th with this lap. Let's see. Hits the apex nicely of turn 17, and then comes to the two flat-out final corners. And Alex Albon goes actually into 4th place. Good lap for Albon. I know it's very early in the session, but yeah, I think Albon has done brilliantly so far this season. And that, this is showing a replay of, I think, the reason a lap or two ago he decided to bail on an attempted lap, and it was because he lost the rear quite a bit at turn 6 and 7 and turn 8 as well. And there's a replay of Lance Stroll at turn 17, not even turning left, which is where you got to go, and just going straight. Thankfully, there's no barrier there to meet you. As Fernando Alonso has completed his first timed run of practice 2, and Fernando is up to first position. So 1, 2, 4 Alpine at the moment. Zhou Guan Yu puts himself up in 3rd place. As Carlos Sainz now goes P1, of course that's to be expected in the Ferrari. And he goes quite a bit quicker than his fellow Spaniard, as Ocon gets back ahead of Alonso and goes 2nd. So it's currently Sainz, Ocon, Alonso. Not Alonso, it's now Norris, and then Alonso, and then Stroll is in 5th place. And I'll just try. Let me just try and go onto the F1 website for the live timings, because they've just on the Sky broadcast gone to the trackside camera with Martin Brundle. So yeah, I'll try and come to this one instead. And there's actually Ricciardo up in 5th, and then Stroll, Zhou, what's his name again? I've actually completely forgot what his name is. Zhou, sorry, that's it. For some reason, I completely forgot what Zhou's how you pronounce his last name. That was very weird. Yeah, it's Zhou in 7th, Albon 8th, Vettel 9th, and Latifi in P10. And we'll see what the two Haas. So I think the next ones to complete a lap. We'll see what they can do. Magnussen had a good practice one, finishing up in 9th place. As Martin Brundle was watching trackside at turn 5, which is pretty much, by the looks of it, a pretty quick, if not almost flat out corner. And yeah, plenty as well of runoff, so the drivers aren't really in a position to be fearful of the barriers. And hopefully they cut away from this camera soon, so we can get back to watching the cars actually go round the track. Kevin Magnussen, I can update you, has done his first timed lap, and he is up to 9th place. Is Magnussen. Vettel also is in P8. There you go, Magnussen 9th and Albon in 10th. Charles Leclerc has now just done his first time as a yellow flag in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Now it's a green flag, so I don't know what that was for. I'm sure we'll see in a moment, but it is Leclerc in P1. And even though practice one, it's not the most representative session, you have to say, I think Ferrari looked better through the majority of the session. As, yeah, Leclerc P1. Gasly has now gone up to 2nd, and then it's Sainz in 3rd. Zhou is up to 4th place. And here's a replay. This is probably what it was. The yellow flag in Sector 1 and Sector 2. And it was Perez at turn 8. Spinning on the entry and in the middle of turn 8. And then spinning completely around. And he was lucky, to be honest, to get going again. I'll be interested to see, actually, how he got out. How he was able to spin his car around. Because there isn't as much room as it looks down there. But he did get going again. As Carlos Sainz goes into 1st place. So it's Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly, Zhou, and then Ocon. As Norris goes 6th. Alex Albon is up to P7. And then you've got Alonso 8th, Ricciardo 9th, Stroll 10th. Yuki Tsunoda has done his first time, but it's only good enough for 11th position. And then you've got Vettel, Magnussen, Latifi. And then, let me just put Schumacher in 15th. So the only cars not to do a lap are the 2 Mercedes, the 2 Red Bulls, and the Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas. And that is a replay of something falling off Kevin Magnussen's car. Looks like something from the side pod. They'll have to fix that, and they are going to now as they bring him back into the garage. And then Sky F1 have now gone to an ad break, so I'll try and keep you guys updated as to the running order. I'll just quickly go back to the F1 website and their live leaderboard so I can keep up to date there. But yeah, with Mercedes and Red Bull, I mean, they won't want to lose too much track time here, because it could rain at any point, say tomorrow or Sunday, because again, it's not always hot and sunny every single day in this part of the world that they're racing at. So, you know, if rain does come down, for example, tomorrow, and it washes out the day, then that's track time then today that they could have used for the dry running. So, like I said, they don't want to miss out on too much. But we'll see when they get out on track. It says that Perez, Hamilton, and Russell are on medium tyres. I don't know if that means they're on track. Yeah, it does actually. They are on track, but we're just not seeing them, obviously, because we're on an ad break on the TV broadcast. So Russell has just completed a lap and gone up to 9th place. So Russell is up to 9th, and then you've just got Perez and Hamilton, who are, I think, on a lap at the moment. Silverback orangutan Chazza, sorry for being a dick about you not being able to race. Cool. I don't know what you're on about. I can't remember what you're on about, to be honest. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton has done a lap, but I think it's just a slow lap. Maybe he made a mistake on that lap because he's only gone up to 16th. On a time that is 35.5 seconds off the pace, we should see Perez improve his time. Oh, not improve his time, but, you know, set a time momentarily. Just waiting to see on the leaderboard whether he does or not. And Perez does set a time, and he goes up to 2nd straight away. Sergio Perez is up to 2nd, and he's only just over 0.5 of a second slower than Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. So there you go. Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Zhou, in 5th place, and then Ocon, Norris, Albon, Alonso, Russell in P10. That is your top 10 with just over 15 minutes gone in practice 2. I'm going to quickly as well just open up my Twitter to see if there's any news I can bring bring you guys as to what's going on. Let me just have a quick look. Apparently Red Bull, Max's car, the reason being worked on is because apparently his car had temperature problems. Red Bull weren't sure if it was the cooler or the gearbox, so they are changing both. Of course, on on a day like this, a Friday practice day, you know, if you do change a gearbox or anything like that, you don't suffer any penalty. Anyway. And apparently as well, from earlier, when Carlos Sainz spun in, what was it, the early part of the lap, turn 4, turn 5, as, talking of Carlos Sainz, he's gone and put it in the barriers. Where is that? That's turn 15, 14, something like that. Oh, what a bad season he's had. He has had such a poor season, and it just continues with this guy. Let me just quickly update some of the positions before we get a replay of what happened. Hamilton up to 6th place there, and then the rest of the order, I think, yeah, the rest of the order is correct. So let's see what Carlos Sainz, let's see what's happened for him here. It looks like he's dropped it before the chicane of turn 14 and 15. And he spun in such a way that he must have spun even before turn 14, 15. He must have spun at turn, like, 13. Very unusual position that his car is in. Because if you were to crash at that corner, you should be going in head first, and he's gone in like the wrong side. So he must have spun through turn 13, and then the car must have spun into that position. Here we go, replay. Through turn 12, then into turn 13, and yeah, the car just spun and then went into the barriers. Very unusual. I mean, he lost the rear end slightly in turn 12, but nothing major. I'm not sure whether that's a driver mistake. That looks more like just the car let go from him. I mean, at the end of the day, he has to take some responsibility, of course, because he's in control of the car. But I wouldn't put too much of the blame on him, because that looked like something. I wouldn't be surprised if he come out and said that he didn't expect that, like that type of spin or the rear coming round, that came out of nowhere. I wouldn't be surprised if he said that, because it looked like he wasn't expecting that to happen. That was quite an unusual spin. So yeah, we do have a red flag. Carlos Sainz, who is P1 at the moment, he's not going to finish there because he is out of the session with 40 minutes to go in practice 2. That is yet another accident for Carlos Sainz this season. Of course, Imola, he had an accident in Friday qualifying that led to him starting the sprint race from P10, and of course got punted out of the race on the first lap. And yeah, the accidents just keep happening for Carlos. And thing is with Carlos, he's looked pretty quick so far this weekend. He's been pretty much on pace with Leclerc so far this weekend, and then that happens. It's just, it's a shame that he just can't get any momentum going. He just cannot get any going this season whatsoever. I believe he does have more pace than he's shown this season, but he just doesn't have the confidence yet. I think if he gets that confidence, I think he definitely improves his performance. But yeah, like I said, so far this weekend, he's been pretty much on the pace of his teammate, if not quicker. And then that happens. Like I said, you have to put it somewhat down to him, but I think also the car, you'd have to put it down to as well, because that looked like an unusual spin. You couldn't see anything. When I mean that, when I say that, what I mean is, you couldn't see anything obvious as to what he did that led to the mistake. He took that corner as you would do normally, and the car just let go from him. And here's a replay of Gasly through turn 11, and he almost lost the rear end 2 or 3 times on the exit of turn 12, 13, and then he had to jump the chicane of 14 and 15. So rear end really under quite a bit of stress for more than just Carlos Sainz. That's the crowd. Many of them will be Ferrari fans. Of course, that would be disappointing. But thankfully for Carlos, it's practice 2. And if you're going to crash, at the end of the day, do it in practice 2 or practice 1 on a Friday. Don't do it on a Saturday or a Sunday. Because at least on a Friday practice, it can't affect, really, your weekend. As work continues to go on. The Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas. I'm not sure they're actually going to send Bottas out, because Bottas isn't even dressed to actually drive. So looks like Valtteri Bottas is going to sit out practice 2. And they're just showing a replay from practice 1 of him just losing the rear. And I think with that, that mistake from Bottas, I think you could definitely put that more so down to the driver, because I think he was too far over to the right and too much on the curb, the entry curb for turn 8, and I think carried too much speed as well. So I think just, got it wrong. But with Sainz, like I said, partly driver error, but also unusual spin from the car that I definitely think he didn't see coming. As plenty of the people in the middle of the track enjoying the swimming pools. And plenty of great places to watch this Miami Grand Prix from. As the traffic goes up and down the highway. And hopefully we'll get going again in, shouldn't be long, should only be 5 more minutes at the most, because it was a simple whack against the barriers, really, for Carlos Sainz. And the car should have been removed by now, surely. we've got pretty much all the times on the board except for Mick Schumacher, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas. Like I said, looks like Valtteri Bottas is not going out on track, which is understandable if the gearbox has suffered some damage. And then, yeah, Max Verstappen, they're just fixing the cooling and I think putting in a new gearbox, so that makes sense. And then Mick Schumacher came out and did a outlap, I'm pretty sure he did, and then it came back in again, so I don't know what happened for Mick, but if you are a Max Verstappen fan, good news, he's about to come out on track in a few minutes because he is his engine cover is just going on his car. As just a replay from practice 1 of the mechanics looking towards the rear of the Red Bull, I think noticing what the problem was, which was to do with the cooling or some sort of problem towards the rear. And yeah, we'll see when he comes back out on track, as they're showing on screen the fake harbour. Honestly, why? As well, who the fuck wants to be seen dead on one of those boats on a fake harbour? How embarrassing is that? As well, the fake harbour, it doesn't even look... If you're going to make something that's clearly fake, but if you're going to try and make it look as real as possible, they've not even put any effort into that. It looks so obviously fake. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, but there you go. That's the red flag. Still out, and we'll see what happens when it comes back in. In the chat, guys, whilst we're having a delay, make sure to post in the chat any comments that you want to post, and if you have any questions you want to ask, then make sure to post it in the chat. And as well, I may as well say this again, as we're about halfway through the session. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow I'll be live, firstly, for a qualifying preview stream at 3 PM UK time, then live again at 5:45 PM UK time for practice 3, and then I'll be live at 8:30 PM for qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix. That's what's coming up tomorrow, and if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, smash the like button, share this video and channel everywhere you can. There is a link below in the description for my Discord server, or it's in the chat being posted by my moderators. So make sure to click that link and join us in Discord. And as well, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. But let's, what do you call it? Let's try to read this chat to see what's going on. Just trying to see if there's any comments I can read out quickly whilst we have this slight delay. And can't see anything for the moment. Lots of people talking about jewelry and stuff like that, which, to be honest, I don't want to really get back into, because, yeah, we shouldn't even be talking about it, to be honest. It's a ridiculous conversation at the end of the day. As the session will resume, well, it's pretty much resumed now, so we are back underway in Miami with half the session still to go. Ronan Brady asks in chat, do you still think this is not a good track? You said this a few years ago, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2019, was it? 2019 or 2020, I think, was when the layout was presented. I think it was. Yeah, to me, it's all right. It's a 5 out of 10. It's like just a bang average track. it's not a bad track. There are parts of the track that I don't like, such as that really just shitty slow series of corners towards the end of the middle sector. But you know, some of the fast corners I don't mind. The first sector has a nice flow, but other than that, like I said, I'd probably give this track a 5 out of 10. It's okay. Of course, you know, it's a lot easier to say this track is shit when you look at a track layout from a map rather than seeing it in action. So I'd say my opinion has probably improved, but not that much. By maybe back then I thought it was a 3 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10, but now I think it's a 5. So I wouldn't really say it's I wouldn't say it's a good track. No, there's plenty of other tracks I think out there that are easily better than this one. And to be honest, I'd actually say the Hanoi track that we were going to race at in 2020, had it not been for the outbreak of COVID, I prefer that track to this one, because I just thought the Hanoi track had a better flow, better corners. Especially, I liked the final sector a lot. The fast left right corners in the final sector, and a couple unique corners as well. Yeah, I thought the Hanoi track was not great, but good. Probably a 7 out of 10, maybe 6.5 at least. But yeah, this track is it's not the most imaginative track in the world, is it? Anyway, now we have got drivers back on track, and let's see what they're going to do now, as Fernando Alonso is on the soft compound tyre, and Fernando is now started his flying lap. He's already into turn 6, or turn 5 and 6, 2 very fast corners, and now comes into turn 6 and 7. Of course, Alonso has had a lot of bad luck this season. He's performed a lot better than people, I think, will maybe give him credit for. And definitely, if he gets some better luck, Fernando is going to get some great results this season. I've no doubt about it, as he's done a purple first sector, by the way, on the soft compound tyre. And now Alonso into the part of the track. Oh, dear. That Red Bull. Who was it? Was it Max Verstappen? As the Sky F1 commentary crew are not even paying attention, because they're all sat around sucking Mario Andretti's dick, pretty much, in the commentary box. But the Red Bull there, I think it was Verstappen. There's a car that's pouring out smoke. It's an Alpine, I think it is, unless it's dust. But Alonso was on a lap, came up to turn, was it 13, 14, and Verstappen was just parked there, which is not his fault, because I think simply he wasn't told by his team what was going on. And that was such a shame, because Alonso was on such a good lap. Anyway, let me just quickly put Vettel up to 4th, because that's where he is now. Vettel up to 4th on the soft compound tyres. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. And it looks like Max Verstappen has a problem. I think it's Verstappen, the one who's smoking. He's cut the chicane on the entry to the pits. And yeah, it looks like Verstappen has some sort of engine problem. Well, we've seen the Red Bulls had reliability problems this year. And yeah, he stopped right for his pit entry box. And yeah, some sort of engine problem there for Verstappen. Or maybe gearbox fire. And yeah, we've seen reliability problems for Red Bull this season. Thankfully, though, for Max, it's happening in practice. But that's not great, is it, going into the rest of the session? Anyway, or rest of the weekend, sorry. Lewis Hamilton now goes to P1. F1 now using the soft compound tyre. So we're going to be seeing a lot quicker lap times, as Charles Leclerc now goes P1 for Ferrari. So it's Leclerc from Hamilton. Perez now 3rd. Gasly 4th, Carlos Sainz 5th, and then you've got Daniel Ricciardo in 6th place. Vettel is 7th, and then Zhou is in 8th place. Ocon 9th, Norris 10th, then Albon, Alonso, Russell, Stroll, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Latifi, Schumacher, Verstappen, Bottas, and yeah, some sort of problem towards the rear of Max Verstappen's car. Let me just quickly have a look on Twitter to see what the problem was. Ronan Brady asked thoughts on Las Vegas. To be honest, I haven't really taken that close of a look at the track layout, so I'll probably have to do that on another stream. As just looking on Twitter, so Chris Medland thought originally it was a rear puncture. It wasn't. It was actually a brake fire. So Max Verstappen, the reason he was billowing out a bit of smoke and had a bit of a problem there, because he had a right rear brake fire, and we're seeing it now on the TV broadcast. So yeah, they'll have to get that sorted quick. That shouldn't be, though, as long as he can come up with a good enough solution, that shouldn't be that long of a fix. Anyway, Russell has gone up to 1st place in the Mercedes on the soft compound tyre. So Russell up to 1st. Honestly, as well, a brake fire in this heat that we're seeing in Miami, I have to say, is not that big of a surprise. As yet, George Russell, P1 on a 129.9. Leclerc 2nd, Hamilton 3rd. I have to say, and I'm not gonna jump the gun too much, but Mercedes definitely look better this weekend than they did at Imola, and definitely clear of the rest of the midfield teams by the looks of it, and possibly closer to Ferrari and Red Bull. I still don't think they'll be right on. I don't think they'll be on Ferrari and Red Bull's pace, but they definitely look better. There is no doubt about that. Just looks better around the track. Doesn't look as uncomfortable as it has done previously. As Alonso has gone 5th for Alpine, and Esteban Ocon goes 9th. So yeah, Alpine confirming their good pace. Lance Stroll goes 13th. Lando Norris goes up to 6th place. So, and Kevin Magnussen goes 8th. The Charles Leclerc's on the soft compound tyre and is about to set another time. His middle sector, though, has not been an improvement on his previous best. So you might struggle to get P1. But yeah, Kevin Magnussen now goes up to 8th position. Sergio Perez now up to 3rd for Red Bull. And Leclerc has backed off and will come into the pits, and so has Russell as well, who has just entered the pits just in front of him. Is a replay of Sergio Perez at turn 14 and 15. Gets through the chicane quite nicely, and then I think he tags the wall slightly on the exit of turn 16 in Perez. But now we've cut away to look at Martin Brundle at turn 7 and 8. So can't look for or can't see any other action going on track at the moment because, like I said, we've cut to this track side camera. But yeah, Mercedes looking certainly better than they have been. I still think Ferrari and Red Bull have more in the tank, if you know what I mean. I think always the Williams on the exit of turn 8, losing the rear end slightly. Yeah, I think Ferrari and Red Bull still have more to show. I think Mercedes are most likely closer to their limit than Ferrari and Red Bull are. Certainly Red Bull, given they're having a bit of reliability problems with Max Verstappen, and the pace he can do is their limit. But yeah, definitely closer looking to me are Mercedes. We'll see, of course, what happens tomorrow. And that new front and rear wing, which was brought to limit the time they were losing on the straights. Maybe it's working. I will probably, in my qualifying preview tomorrow, get into the data of, speed traps and sector time data to see who, is looking good where. So we'll get into that tomorrow. But maybe that's paying off for them, as we're seeing an AlphaTauri going through turn 8. Don't know who it was. And looks pretty hot at the track. And nice to see, by the way. Quite a good crowd for Friday practice. As we have 19 and a half minutes to go. Got to say, this session has flown by. This day has flown by. This Friday practice day. And we're almost done for this Friday practice day, which I have to say, feels like we only started an hour or so ago, and it was practice 1. Yeah, just incredible. That's flown by. And here is Lewis Hamilton, who is at turn 8 now. He's on a new flying lap, new set of tyres, and he's done a improved first sector, but it's still slower than his teammate George Russell. Let's see what Lewis can do. Of course, with it being a Miami Grand Prix, something that I think he even said in a press conference that he'd like to see. He'll want to do well here, and hopefully that car moves out the way of the Haas, and it does on the exit of turn 11. And the rear end of the Mercedes slightly scruffy through turn 12, 13. Looks good through the chicane and into turn 16 too. But does not have a good sector too, so I'm thinking he may have just lost a bit too much time with his rear end grip through those corners. But I can update that Zhou is up to 8th place in the Alfa Romeo. Zhou's had a decent start to life in Formula 1, and hopefully he'll put what's happened before behind him and keep pushing, because he has good pace, especially in that Alfa Romeo car, which is actually pretty quick itself. Let me just get the order right. Snowdrop in 14th. And then Schumacher up to 17th, and Latifi, and that should all be correct for the moment. Yeah, with 17 and a half minutes to go in practice 2, it is George Russell here on this very hot Friday in P1. Charles Leclerc 2nd, Sergio Perez 3rd, Lewis Hamilton 4th, Fernando Alonso 5th, and then Lando Norris 6th, Pierre Gasly 7th, Zhou Guanyu 8th, Esteban Ocon 9th, and Kevin Magnussen in 10th place. So many different constructors in the top 10. You've got, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, Alpine, McLaren, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, and Haas. Like I said, so many different constructors in the top 10. And it shows that even though we do have a clear top 2 teams in F1, that it is still pretty competitive. Ronan Brady asks, are most people on their long runs at the moment? Not sure, to be honest. I haven't really seen anything to what do you call it? I haven't really seen anything to suggest that. Rooksfoot asks, how's the porpoising looking on the Mercedes and others, Chaz? I haven't keenly looked out for what do you call it, for the porpoising on the Mercedes, but from what I've seen so far, it doesn't jump out like it used to, so it looks better. But I will, when they come back from the ad break, I will try and watch out again to see if they are having that porpoising in a bad way still, but doesn't look like they are actually. So, yeah. But like I said, I'll have a look again when they come back. Just trying to look on Twitter, see if there's any what do you call it? Any new news? So I can keep you guys updated as to what's going on at the track. Also, apparently, Andreas Seidel, who of course is the team principal, not the team boss, but the team principal for McLaren, said earlier that apparently it looks like Mercedes have made a step in performance, and from what I've seen so far, it definitely looks the case. It looks like Mercedes have made a step in performance. Not a massive one, not one that's going to put them way down the road ahead of the midfield teams and really close the gap massively to the front two teams, but it looks better. The Mercedes car looks better. There is no doubt about that. But yeah, we'll see whether they can maintain first and fourth place in this session. Also, we'll see if Max Verstappen can get out on track and get some running. He's not done really anything in this session as Max. He'll want to get some laps, and he won't probably be able to get a race run in probably until tomorrow, as long as the car, of course, is reliable. So, yeah, hopefully, from his point of view, they can get his car out for some running in this session. That's the only thing really holding back Max in this championship fight is reliability. He's done absolutely fine so far this season, and absolutely is good enough to fight for the championship this year. But if his car's not reliable, then what chance does he have? And here's a replay of Russell in the Mercedes going down the straight, and the Mercedes is still porpoising quite a bit. Yeah, the Mercedes is porpoising a lot, actually. So the porpoising doesn't seem to have got any better, really. But if that front and rear wing to try and cut off a bit of drag, if that is if that's worked, then even though they'll have that bouncing down the straight, at least they'll be doing it at a quicker speed than they were previously. As Ricciardo now is on a flying... Oh no, there's a Williams car there, just parked on the side of the road that nobody saw until now. And guess who it is? It's Nicholas Latifi in 18th place. It doesn't, though, look like he's had an accident. It looks as though he has broke down. And there's a red flag now. And yeah, it looks as though he's had a breakdown. I'm not sure they needed a red flag, honestly. I'm really not sure it was necessary for a red flag. Probably a virtual safety car would have done better there. Or a double waved yellow. Or something like that. Because he is out of the way. And it is on a straight. So... But we have a red flag with 12 minutes to go. And I think I said earlier that Latifi, yeah, can guarantee he will cause a red flag today or sometime this weekend. And he has, but it's not through any fault of his own. And Latifi's car looks to have broken down on the straight, yeah, between turn 8 and turn 11. It looks to be. And the tractor now comes to take the car away. This red flag shouldn't last that long. Should only be like 2-3 minutes. Because literally all they're going to do is pull it behind the barrier. And make sure it's completely out the way. And then they can get going again. And hopefully, as well, the marshals can wheel it back into, or wheel it, back behind the wall. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, with the heat Yeah, it's going to cause problems this weekend with cooling. I mean, you've seen, I think I read out earlier all of the upgrades that the teams have brought. Williams and Alfa Romeo brought upgrades this weekend purely from a cooling perspective to avoid reliability problems, but seemingly for Williams, it's not helped. Yeah. So the heat this weekend is going to be a problem. Certainly for the tyres. The tyres will overheat quite quickly, especially if you're racing another car. When you're racing another car, you're going to be, using up your tyres a bit too much, aren't you? So, yeah, tyre wear is going to be pretty excessive. And then the session, by the way, is, I think, about to resume in about 30 seconds or so from now. So hopefully in the final 10 minutes, we'll get some improved lap times. But, yeah, tyre wear is going to be an issue from the heat perspective this weekend, and obviously reliability with the engines and that, and brake cooling and cooling around the power unit and all of that. It's all going to be very, very critical. And I think also you're going to see plenty of times this weekend, I think, cars deliberately driving out of the slipstream of another car to cool their car down, because you can absolutely see cars overheating in that type of situation. And yeah, just looking at the off-board, they're showing a replay, I think, of the end of Russell's lap that sees him in P1. That Mercedes looks way more comfortable through the corners. I mean, still on the straight, the porpoising is still there, but it's not. I still think the porpoising has improved from what we've seen previously, but through the corners, it looks a lot more stable. Does the Mercedes car? So yeah. Good to see from their perspective, and good to see, I think, overall. I know people might be disappointed if Mercedes improved, but it would make things even better for Formula One if we had Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes fighting for the top 6 positions. Maybe McLaren can, join that fight later in the season if they can improve their car. We'll see, but, it would be great for Formula One if Mercedes can absolutely put themselves right back in there. And obviously, they have 2 very good drivers who deserve to be fighting in that part of the grid. Rona Brady says, or maybe asks, could we see a 2-stop on Sunday, I wonder? Let me just look how many laps the Grand Prix is. Because it's what? It's like a 1 minute 20... late 1 minute 20s lap. 57 laps. So, yeah, it's going to be... I'd imagine it'll be a 2-stop race. Because, like I said, you've got long, fast corners that do rip the tyres up quite a bit. Whether it's hot or a bit cooler, they do rip the tyres up quite a bit. And in these temperatures, it's going to really hurt. And if there's a lot of, side-by-side action and racing... As a yellow flag in Sector 2 for some reason. Now it's gone green again. Then, yeah, that's going to damage the tyres even more. And even if you're just driving on your own, doing your own race, your tyres in that heat are going to suffer eventually because of the nature of the corners and the circuit. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a 2-stop race. I'd be very surprised if they could get through the entire race on a 1-stop strategy. I really would. Because... yes, it's a street track, but you will absolutely be able to overtake around this track, because that straight between turn 8 and turn 11 is colossally long. And you're opening the DRS. Let me just see, because Leclerc's on that straight now. He's not got the DRS open, so I can't really tell. But you've got the DRS open for most of the straight, so overtaking will not be necessarily that big of a problem this weekend. It won't be easy, but it won't be as hard as it was at Imola, for example. So, yeah, I think you're going to see a 2-stop race. I would be surprised if it was a 1-stopper. I think you'd need really a safety car at the right time for it to be a 1-stop race. You need a safety car to come out and then stay out for long enough that you can eliminate laps you would have done on a certain compound, if you know what I mean. But Charles Leclerc we're looking at reason he didn't have DRS open on that straight is because he's doing a few heavier fueled runs to simulate the feeling of a race car for Sunday. And yeah, the Ferrari car looks actually pretty good with heavier fuel. Not really missing its apexes, as here's a replay of Sergio Perez behind, I think that's an Aston Martin. It is. And then down into turn 11, goes down the inside and then goes deep and has to then spin his car back round. Very embarrassing for Perez. But obviously, not a lot of grip down the inside of turn 11. So Perez has to get going behind some more traffic as Sebastian continues on. Sebastian Vettel currently in 13th place, which is well, no, he's not in 13th place actually. He's in 14th. Let me just update that. For Vettel, that's okay, really. I wouldn't say he's doing particularly great, but we have to remember that the Aston Martin, I think, in normal dry conditions, whereas Russell just saying on the radio there, bouncing feels worse compared to the soft tyre. As locks the inside front going into that turn 14 and 15 chicane, but got away with it. Didn't actually go deep or anything like that. But yeah, with Aston Martin, I think we have to remember that I think in normal dry conditions, which is not what we had 2 weeks ago at Imola, it is still a bad car, the Aston Martin. But they are bringing, I think, quite a big update package in 2 weeks' time. So we'll see how they get on later in the season as we enter the final few minutes. And here's a replay of Lewis Hamilton on the medium compound tyre. And it was actually Lewis Hamilton, by the looks of it, who made that lock up. Actually, it wasn't Lewis Hamilton. It was, I think they both did the same thing, Hamilton and Russell. And yet, here's a further replay of Russell porpoising down the straight towards turn 17. And Hamilton not bouncing as bad. So, yeah, to answer your question, Rook, they are bouncing still quite a bit, but it's not as bad. They've limited it, which, of course, is a plus, because with the way the new era of Formula 1 is, the whole performance of the car aerodynamically centers around the floor. The closer you can run your floor to the ground, or your car to the ground, the more downforce you're going to get out of the car. So if you're having to lift the car because of the bouncing, then that's downforce you're having to deliberately cut from the car for reliability purposes. So if they fix the porpoising, then they'll be a lot better. As yeah, it doesn't look as though we're going to get any improvements in lap time, to be honest. But let me just make sure my order that I've got on screen is correct. And it is. And yeah, Max Verstappen doesn't look like he's going to come out on track, which is not good because, of course, he, you know, if he's going to win this championship, reliability needs to be sorted for this Red Bull car. But I'm not sure that it's necessarily a similar reliability problem to what we've seen earlier in the season. And I wouldn't also say it's what you call it, that big of a surprise given the heat we are seeing this weekend. Anyway, we've got what? 2.5, actually not 2.5, 90 seconds or just under 90 seconds to go. And we're currently looking at Fernando Alonso, who's doing a couple runs on heavier fuel. And Fernando Alonso, again, is looking in a good position for this weekend, currently in 5th place. And there is a Haas car of Kevin Magnussen, who has spun, but thankfully can get going again. That is at that's where Bottas crashed. So that's turn 7 and 8. The exit of 7 and the entry to 8. He's probably done the same thing as Kevin. But yeah, Alonso, he's in a good position, and he is in position absolutely to get a top 6, top 7 qualifying result tomorrow, which would be a great result for him. Also, Lando Norris looking very strong as he usually is. Even though Mercedes are looking much better, let's not completely then discount McLaren, who are still looking good, especially with Norris. Gasly as well looking good. And then I think Alfa Romeo, once Bottas is out there on track as well, I think they've got a good car too. And yeah, Magnussen through turn 7 just put his car too much on the curb, gave himself, tried to give himself a wide entry point for turn 8, but went too wide and the car was unsettled and thankfully did not spin into the barriers. And here now is a replay of Sebastian Vettel. The session is now over. And Vettel overtaken by Zhou down at turn 11. And he tried to do, I think, like a switchback. And then as he turned in, spun. Probably because he applied throttle a bit too aggressively on the exit. So there you go. And there is an image they're showing of Carlos Sainz's damaged, broken Ferrari car. And he finishes up in 11th place as the checkered flag comes out and the session is over. So, the final order, you have George Russell in P1 for Mercedes. We'll see what they can do tomorrow. I don't think they'll be that competitive tomorrow, but I think they'll definitely be closer to the top 2 teams tomorrow. Charles Leclerc 2nd, Sergio Perez 3rd, Lewis Hamilton 4th, Fernando Alonso 5th, Norris 6th, Gasly 7th, Zhou 8th, Ocon 9th, Magnussen 10th. That's your top 10. And then Sainz 11th, Ricciardo 12th, Tsunoda 13th, and then Vettel, Schumacher, Stroll, Albon, Latifi, and then Verstappen 19th because he didn't do a timed run due to a brake fire and more reliability trouble. And Valtteri Bottas didn't do a time or a lap even because of his crash in practice 1. Hopefully they'll be able to do running, of course, tomorrow for the all-important qualifying session in Miami, Florida. But let's just see if there's any final comments in chat that I can quickly read out. I don't think there is. No, I don't think so. I think I'll bring this stream. Actually, hold on. Let me just read this out. Thank you very, very much to Silverback Orangutan for the donation. Not had a donation in a while. The $4.99. Who asks, "Who is your favourite driver since Kimi left?" Chazza in chat. Great call, Chazza. Thank you, Rook. You are the best. So there you go, Rook. There's a new fan. You have quite a few for the work you do, and you do great work as well. So there you go. Who is my favourite driver since Kimi left? I mean, in terms of entertainment, I'd have to say Max is one of them, purely from an entertainment point of view. Again, I don't support any of the drivers. The only drivers I like are the ones who are either entertaining or relatable, I guess you would say, to me, or whatever. And yeah, I'd say from an entertainment point of view, Max Verstappen is one of them. I'm just trying to think, is there anyone else who would rival? It's probably Verstappen and Perez, I think, are 2 drivers that I've always liked more than others. And I've always liked Perez a lot. Everyone can testify to that because I've been singing his praises since I started doing videos. What other drivers? Sainz as well. I'd probably say Verstappen, to be honest, purely, like I said, from an entertainment point of view. Since he started racing and consistently fighting at the front of Grand Prix, Formula 1 has been way more exciting. I don't think anybody can deny that. And whether you like him or hate him, and you don't have to like him if you don't. But yeah, I don't think you can deny he has been great for the sport, and like I said, he is a very entertaining driver with what he does. But yeah, thank you for the donation. And yeah, I think we'll come to the end of the stream. Just to remind you guys again, for tomorrow, I'll be live, firstly, for the qualifying preview at 3 p.m. UK time. In that qualifying preview, what we're going to do is go through all the data of today, and also look through all the quotes and talking points from Friday practice, and how it looks for all the teams and drivers going into Saturday qualifying. Then I will be doing a practice 3 watch along at 5:45 p.m. UK time, and then a qualifying watch along at 8:30 p.m. UK time. So make sure if you are a subscriber, if you're not a subscriber, make sure if you are watching to come along to those streams tomorrow. If you are new to the channel, by the way, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. And don't forget to join my Discord server. I'm sure Rook is posting a link in the chat to that Discord server. And also there's a link below in my description if you're watching this after the stream has finished. But guys, until Saturday qualifying tomorrow, it has been me, ChazHD. Goodbye.